She said kinda love affair.
Is love in the air, or is your relationship on the verge of destruction? Let's talk about it. Sit back,
Relax.
and enjoy your favorite cocktail as we discuss relationships, dating,
Sex.
and love. Love on the rocks, that is.
Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Love on the Rock. It's Roger, the Wild Child, along with Megan Bennett. Hello, Meg.
Hi, Roger. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. I just want to start off before we even begin with the show. We're going to talk about a sensitive subject.
It's a very touchy subject.
Yes. And the topic is Behind the Mask, Navigating Mental Health with My Partner. And we're going to be having discussions about mental health. And
There might be some
forewarning.
triggers.
So just to warn everybody out there, if this is not your episode,
That
you're
is
more than
okay.
that is okay. And you're welcome to leave or stay. It's up to you. But I just wanted to make sure that I let that out.
Absolutely. Yes.
So prior to the show, we had some debates going on already. I had
It
to
already got a little bit heated.
and and that's the thing about having, like a whole team of relationship influencers, because you're going to get people's different perspectives. And at the end of the day, your how you feel is valid.
Mhm.
Because that's how you feel.
Right.
And there's no wrong answer. It's the way that some people perceive mental illness in certain
And how they
ways
deal with it.
and how they deal with it. It's like death. Different people deal with death in different ways.
Right. Right.
Some people just move on with their life and just, and some people are just
Get
locked
stuck.
up in their bedroom
Yeah.
for a couple years. I mean, it's
Right.
just it's from one extreme to the other. And you can't just sit there and say, oh, this is how you should act.
Right. Right.
Because I can't tell somebody to act a certain way because
You're not them.
I'm not them, and I wouldn't want
Right.
them to tell me to act a certain way.
Right. Right.
So-
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's just being respectful about it and being cordial and being open to everybody else's opinion as
Mhm.
well. So
Agreed. So let's go ahead and bring on our relationship influencers. We've got Crystal, Lydia, and Rachel this week.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up, lady?
Hello, ladies. How are we doing today?
Oh, it's been a day. Happy Monday.
Happy
Monday.
Fun Day Monday.
Fun day Monday. Fun day Sunday. Fun day Monday. Fun day Tuesday.
Yeah. So this was a topic that was brought up in our group meeting, and we're like, okay, we want to touch this subject
Because it's Mental Awareness Month. And so every podcast out there, that I work on is touching on this. I have a music one that I do, and it's how music influences our moods. And, this is going to be a touchy subject for all of us, I think, but, that's okay, because we need that. That's what makes the show interesting, is that we all have different opinions, and, let's go with it.
All right. So I'm going to start with Lydia. And you basically were the chairperson on this topic.
Yep, I was.
You were. And
I'm a big advocate for mental illness, aside from the month of May. But I do think it affects a lot of relationships. Some people go into relationships not knowing that the other person is suffering from an illness. That other person might feel nervous to talk about it because they feel like they're going to be left behind. Or on the other hand, somebody might know that another person has an illness and they go based off of the stigma and don't want to get in that relationship, because most of what we know about mental illness is from media, what we see on TV, what we see on
Right.
TikTok, what we see in movies, you
Right.
know,
Right.
which is not and which is not a real portrayal of these illnesses. It makes them look people violent. You know, it puts them in a light that is not.
Okay, so so ladies, are y'all dating somebody that's got a mental illness, or do you have the mental illness?
I suffer from mental illness.
I do.
Oh, okay. So we're in a room of crazies.
I'm not.
choose better words.
I'm not.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm crazy too. Don't worry about it. I'm not judging you. You know, I just wanted to know, like, we know our subject matter tonight was dating our partner with, but I don't think any of us have. Do any of us have a partner that's crazy, or are we the crazies?
Well, we're talking about mental health, so it's going to be a little bit more than just crazy. There are other things that you could be dealing with in a partner that aren't just like manic episodes, which I think
What do
is
you have?
what you're referring to. I didn't say that I had anything, but
Oh.
it's not something I want to talk about openly.
Oh, well, we're on a podcast here, so that's what we're doing. Like, okay,
right.
next.
But some of us have restrictions about what we're talking about, and that's one of my boundaries. So I'm going to move on.
Next person.
So like I was saying, it's mental health awareness, and it could include a lot more than just manic episodes, which I think what you're referring to.
Yeah, there's OCD,
having a
there's
partner
ADD, there's, you know, come on, there's so many.
But like I was saying, there are other things like depression. Dealing with a partner who has depression is going to be very different than dealing with a partner who has anxiety, and how you approach those as, you know, the partner, it's going to differ. Odds are, if you're dating at, you know, at any point and you've dated 5 people, odds are one of them has suffered from mental illness. So approximately 22.8% of U.S. adults experience mental illness. This was back in like 2021. That's what that number's from. So you're talking about 1 in 5. So it's a pretty large number. So.
That, you know, it's more common, you know, mental illness than people would give credit for or discredit for.
And as the stigma lifts and more people seek help, those numbers are going to continue to rise. And it's not necessarily because all of a sudden there's more people with mental illness. It's just that there's more people
recognizing it. And absolutely, yeah.
So those numbers do continue to rise. But
so what do you all think is like the trigger of mental illness? What causes it, do you think?
I think, you know, society, like there's so many things happening in the world today, and it's causing a lot of stress on people. And, you know, I think that has a lot to do with it. What do you think? Go ahead.
I honestly think it's just, you know, it's very situational on people's different experiences in life or what they're dealing with. Some people can't cope with, you know, things that are going on in their world. And, you know, obviously we're talking about navigating your partner's health. After I got divorced, I was dating this one lady who ended up being a compulsive liar to the point where she was trying to convince me my kids were stealing money from the house, stealing money, and that she told me that she had custody of her kids when her kids lived in a different state. It got so bad that I didn't realize this until later. So I moved her in to help her get custody of her kids when I found out she didn't have them. Or she told me that the dad came and took the kids away from her, so now she doesn't have the kids. Come to find out, we got to go down there and visit them in spring break. I talked to them, got along with them great. Their kids and my kids, same age. They all got along. And they told me they've never lived in Idaho. They never went to school in Idaho. They never done all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is more than I could probably handle here.
Yeah.
And
That's
kids
crazy.
don't lie. Kids don't lie.
No.
And
What did
so
you actually know about them, since everything else was a lie?
Yeah, people shouldn't lie. People,
yeah, it just
adults shouldn't lie.
No, and it was really, really bad. And so finally, it got to the point that after we were done with spring break, kids went back to their dad's house, went back to Idaho. I said, okay, you're going to tell me the truth now? And come to find out that everything that came out of her mouth was a complete lie.
Wow.
I have no clue who this girl is in my house.
Yeah,
Wow.
that goes
scary.
beyond lying. That's deceit, that's betrayal, that's fraud. It goes beyond her and just that's not a simple lie. Like, that's complete deceit and betrayal and fraud.
That's
Do you
crazy. That's just
think there was any reason why she was lying? Like, was it for like attention?
I don't know,
seeking?
but I asked her son because they came up during the summer, and I said, and I talked to her son, and he's like, my mom does this with every guy that she's with. It's like, oh,
wow.
so this is a normal pattern that she has, is being a compulsive
low
liar.
Self-esteem. I gotta make.
No, she must be really. You know what? She must be very intelligent. I can hardly tell the truth and keep up with that. Like, seriously.
I think she believed her own lies.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how bad it was, to the point where she was living her own lie.
Well, look at people with Munchausen's.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right.
They truly believe that they're sick and that they have all these physical issues going on, and they don't.
Right.
You don't
I've
want to be
come
the
across
proxy
that a lot.
either.
Do what?
I said, she's talking about Munchausen's, and you don't want to be the by proxy in that situation.
Right.
No. I've
So-
dealt with people like that in the medical world, and no.
So I finally did kick her out of the house, and she moved on with her life, and we never talk. So probably the best thing.
That's for the best.
Yeah. So I vowed I was never going to allow myself in that situation ever again, because it was not pleasant. She tried to tell me she had cancer, and she never did.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was. And the list goes on. The list goes on. I finally caught her in all these lies, and she kept tripping up on things. And then I would talk to her kids, be like, "Is this true?" And they're like, "No." I'm like,
Nope.
"Oh,
Wow.
yeah."
I think the most mental illness had person I've ever not only met, crossed paths with, but I ended up, he was Matt, the one that I had married for 49 days. I've never met anybody with to that degree of a mental illness, and it was the hardest time of my life.
And what did
dealing with it.
What did he have? Was it like schizophrenia or? Because
schizophrenia, bipolar, manic depression.
They kind of all if you have somebody that you're dating and they have one, they tend to have like several. I had somebody like that in my life, and it was not just schizophrenia; it was bipolar, just like you said, ADHD.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a habitual liar. He was an abuser, but his mental illness, I've never met anybody with it of any sort to that degree. Like, it still just leaves me like, I didn't even know, even as a healthcare professional, I had no experience, no patience. Like, it's the most terrifying thing in the world, and the hardest thing to mentally maneuver and process. emotionally, mentally, like it's the hardest thing in the world to process.
Did y'all know that about 988? I never, I was on another podcast and somebody was talking about, if anyone is out there and they're having problems and they want to talk to anybody, there's a number that you can call, and it's 988. And I think I mean, this is the first I heard about this. Like,
I think they launched that like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I just heard about it.
741-741, and then just recently in the last couple of years they changed it to 988 so that it was only the 3 number, like 911, but
that's pretty incredible, because sometimes we need somebody to talk to and there's nobody out there, and it's nice to know that if you just dial 3 numbers, there it is, there's somebody out there to listen.
Right.
Well, a lot of times too, people buy into the stigma with getting help, and I can say that, like, there is no shame in getting help.
No.
It's a good thing. Like, you don't just have to go to therapy when something's wrong. It's actually a good idea to go to therapy, like, when things are going good, so you have a certain baseline. When you're in a serious committed relationship, going to couples therapy, highly, highly recommend couples therapy. But yeah, I mean, there is a huge stigma that goes along with seeking therapy. So unfortunately, a lot of times that will shame people away because they don't want to be labeled or like made fun of just for receiving help. And a lot of times also people don't receive help because they're not aware that they have a mental illness.
I think we all throughout life, everyone goes through a period where we feel like, oh my God, I'm losing it. There's something that has happened and it's taking me to a place that's really dark. And I think it's okay that we seek help, and that, if you need to get on medication or whatever it is you need to do, that's okay. I think everyone goes through this. I mean, we're not, you're not alone out there. I think there's nobody that goes through life without having things bad that happen, and then it's knowing that it's okay.
I think too, a lot more people are actually seeking help because there's more ways to get it now. Like, you can text on an app, you can do telehealth. Like, a lot of therapists will do Zoom calls or just talk on the phone. You don't have to go in and sit on a couch, and it's not like that anymore. Like, there's tons of options out there.
Yeah.
And the thing is back in the day, even now, people don't want to admit they have a mental health problem.
Yeah.
Or
it's hard to admit it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I understand that.
It's even harder to get help.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Or be open and willing for help.
I've made the suggestion to people who I sincerely believe would benefit from therapy. Like, hey, like, why don't you give it a shot? Like, I think you could really benefit from this. And it's almost always taken offensively.
Yeah.
Because they see it as like a put down.
What everything the media's made it out to be a bad thing. Like,
I mean, I don't know. Therapy is great. I love therapy. I need it because strictly just for my day-to-day, like just my job. It's kind of a requirement. So it's like, I can't speak enough of the benefits. I can't make the stigma go away no matter how much I talk about it. But
no, I agree.
And I do get to talk about mental illness quite a little bit, even at work. Especially in October, we do this Inktober thing where, like, if you've been doing it for a couple years, you might know this artist, Sean Koss. I highly recommend taking a look at his stuff. It's pretty cool. He started off just doing this little Facebook event called Inktober, where you just draw something a day, like from this list. And he kind of took it to the next level. He goes, I'm going to draw a different mental disorder every day, like my representation of it. And then he ended up like blowing up, and he put these all in a book. He's got like 2 different volumes of it now. Really, really good art. I highly suggest taking a look at his stuff, especially the mental health disorders and the mental illness books. They're pretty awesome. So,
do you guys feel like social media has helped people accept that they have mental health?
I think it's made
issues?
it worse.
It's made it worse for adolescents.
Yeah,
Certainly.
absolutely.
Lydia, your
Absolutely.
take?
I would say it makes it worse because you have keyboard warriors who will just say whatever they want because they don't have to face the person. So I think social media has made that worse.
Right.
And then, we had COVID where all we had to do was sit home on social media.
Not actually interact with people.
Right. And now it leaves me, like, now that I'm thinking about it, Lydia, like back during COVID, how many people and how many cases I've heard about them unaliving themselves on social media because of the keyboard warriors and the effect that it has on them. I've never in my life heard of anything like that until COVID, and just the having to be on lockdown and the effect it took on people. I feel like I've got a frog in my throat.
Water.
I feel like that affects relationships a lot because, certain mental illnesses cause you to just kind of shut down. You're not able to communicate, which affects your relationship because if you can't communicate with your partner's going to leave you because relationships are 50-50 and
Right.
you can't be giving everything and,
Not getting in return.
Right.
and it sucks because it's like it's not their fault that they can't give it to you, even just some people that suffer from like major depression who can't get out of bed and clean up their house. Like I follow this person on TikTok. She goes around and she cleans people's houses who they're like completely unlivable because these people are dealing with severe mental illness and they can't even take care of themselves. So if you can't take care of yourself, how can you be in a relationship and try to help someone else take care of themselves?
No,
Right.
you can't do that. You got to be 100% before you can, be with somebody else, I think. And that's hard. I like that there's a cleaning lady out there that's, helping people. That's incredible.
But people jump into relationships with somebody as that security blanket so they're not alone, and people don't want to be alone, so they use that as a scapegoat, not necessarily for love, but to feel like somebody to take care of them. Does that make sense?
Well, going back to your relationship with the woman that was constantly lying, like she lied about cancer, probably because she wanted you to stay and take care of her. So she made up these lies. She
That's
made up
crazy.
lies to keep you around,
And I didn't stick around.
because you found out
some
the
people,
truth.
yeah,
But I mean, had she truly had cancer, would you have left?
I'd be supportive.
Exactly.
If you care about somebody, you're going to support them no matter what they're going through.
That's probably what she was looking for. And the only way she thought she could get it was by lying. And she would hope that you never found out the truth.
Yeah. And then, eventually the truth prevails. And it just blows my mind that this is common with a lot of people. And it's like, it's like, why do you feel a need to like go in somebody's home who's got kids, disrupt everybody's lifestyle, create all these lies, try to pin your against your kids, and they're trying to tell me the truth of what's going on. It's like, what do I do? And I'm like, not 1 second did I doubt that my kids stole money, because my kids don't do that. But it was like, what? And then it made me question, why would she
why would she lie to me? Right.
Why?
Yeah.
So it was just a very awkward situation, but I'm glad I'm out of it. But and it only lasted 6 months, but it was just like,
That's a long time to deal with that, though. 6 months?
Right.
Yeah.
6 months of knowing or 6 months of being with her altogether?
6 months being with her altogether.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say. I mean,
it could have been 2 years down the road, and I'd find out all this stuff, and that could be emotionally.
well, would you have reacted different if 2 years down the road she told you she had cancer
Right,
as
I
opposed
was
to
about to
6
say.
months? I think like
Right.
the onset of when you realize something's up ultimately determines like the best route for that to go for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 years down the road, if she told me all this stuff or whatever, I mean, I don't, you're going to be invested emotionally, so you're going to believe this person, right? So,
Not if the truth is in front of you.
well, that's a different story. If the truth is in front of me, then they'd be like,
And your kids are telling you the truth. Emotionally
about-
invested or not, like, would you have left?
I'm a hard person to relieve relationships, but then I eventually do.
Right.
I mean, I was in my marriage for 17 years.
Right.
And it was hard to leave that, even though I knew it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it, for me, when I'm in a relationship, I'm in it for all. And, as I get more involved over time, I mean, if I met somebody and like I find out from a month later that there's a lot of issues going on, then yeah, it's easy to jump out. But when you're emotionally attached and you're going into a year, 2, 3 years plus down the road,
Right.
you're used to that lifestyle.
Right.
So it's like, oh my God, this is going to change my entire life. Am I ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes a difference in, do I work it out, try to toughen through it and not jump ship, or do
Right.
I
What do
go
you
ahead
do?
and get out while
Yeah.
I'm ahead
Mm-hmm.
type thing? And then you have those relationships, the opposite of like Roger, but still on the mental illness scale, that people like me who suffer from mental illness, it takes a relationship for that to like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me to have recognized like, oh, wait a minute, like maybe I do need to seek help. In my case, it was trying to walk out in front of cars that I was like, okay, this is a bit much. I should probably seek help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but that was my thinking, my line of thinking.
Sometimes people get in their mindset, they get really depressed, and they need a trigger to get them out of the funk that they're in.
My trigger that put me in it was grief.
Mm-hmm.
That's what ultimately led me to trying to walk out in front of the car, because I don't know how to handle grief. And because I don't know how to handle grief, it affects other areas in my life, like my relationships. And that causes me to feel like I'm just overwhelmed and I'm not fit. You know what? I'm not fit for it. Like I just couldn't handle it. And I walked out in front of a car.
So how are you better today? I mean, what's making it?
I it was that happened. And it was 4 days later, I started therapy 3 days a week, and I've been doing that like clockwork. And I'm in a completely different mindset.
You think
today.
you think you found the right person to talk to, and that's important because
It's absolutely important. If you if you don't trust your therapist and you're not connecting with your therapist, it's not that therapy is not going to be successful.
Yeah,
Right.
not all
all.
therapists are the same.
No.
Right.
Yeah,
Shout
you
out
got
to
to
my
find your
therapist.
yeah.
I'm not going to say her name because I don't want everybody to go steal her and book her up.
It's like
Yeah,
finding
but
a husband. You got to find the right person, right?
I was
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
thankful.
Finding the right fit is very,
Right.
It's very important.
it's like
Right.
glass
Yeah.
slippers everywhere.
Very
I was
key.
very thankful that I hit it off with my therapist, and she and I just we connect really well. And I was very, very lucky and blessed to have found her when I did, and not have to go through therapist after therapist after therapist looking, for the right one. So I'm in a completely different mindset these days. But in a relationship, like my struggles definitely affected the other, like 150%. I'm not an easy person to deal with anyway. Y'all know this. But
that's what
No.
makes you beautiful, though, because that's what makes you beautiful. We don't want you to be easy. We want you to.
I'm definitely
Right?
not easy. So
No,
looking
that's
back,
good.
it's like I can't imagine
Mm.
those close to me and in a relationship, like the hell that I put on him and my boys and my family. And a lot of people don't realize that, like they're so stuck in their cycle of everyday life and thinking it's normal to have manic episodes and think it's normal to walk out in front of a car or cut themselves or whatever it may be. And it takes, like Roger said, it may take a certain trigger to before they realize it.
Yeah.
There is more to that, but I can't even think.
Okay, Sean
Ariel.
on Facebook says, "Hi, I have autism and a question. I'm not sure where and who I can ask."
Shoot your question, Sean.
That's right here.
All right, Sean.
We will do our best.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll give him a minute to ask his question.
So I will also share when I met the therapist that I have now, when I first walked into her office, she has a big floofy dog and he was there. And that's how I knew I was in the right place. I was like, we are going to
Because of the dog.
She's a dog person. She's an animal person. We are going to get along great.
Yeah. Right.
You would say that.
All right, guys, here we go.
Oh wow.
How can I pitch this idea into who? Someone with a nameless disability, internalize every negative experience, depending on the size and amount of negative experiences, can create miracles, such as creating a cure for cancer. So when people find out of this person, like different governments, it's exploited even more. Eventually, it commits suicide, and only then can they realize that it wasn't a bit an amazing and precious human being. Not because of the external things that he or she did, but
So that was kind of all over the place.
What?
I know, right? We're all like, what?
Sean, can you maybe simplify that for us?
Yes, please,
a little
honey.
bit?
Yeah.
Someone with a nameless.
I kind of think what you're trying to say, but try and simplify it for me.
I think this is just my take on it.
Okay.
The person that found the cure for cancer, it ends up being exploited. Like the government takes over, they charge thousands and thousands of dollars for treatment. This person wanted to cure cancer to help people.
Right.
They eventually unalive themselves because what they wanted to give to the world has now changed.
Right.
But it's not.
Okay. Yeah, that's my frame of thinking too.
All right. I read that 3 times and was kind of lost, but
No, I knew, I got the gist.
Glad y'all got the takeaway on that.
Just wanted to make sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't read it. So
right?
You guys, and y'all were not the readers in class.
Yeah, clapping on the ladies that could process that one.
I'm like, wait, what? Say that again.
I know exactly. I kept rereading it.
But to answer him, that's a really hard. That's a really hard situation. Like I'm not certain exactly of your question, but the description.
Oh, the point is people use, exploit, etc.
Oh, absolutely.
Disabilities.
Absolutely. All the time.
Well, look at the movie Rain Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean, for coming in and joining us.
No, absolutely. And with respect, I know that you're autistic and sometimes it's hard to communicate your questions.
Right.
So, but I appreciate you getting out there. Yes, you did great.
I love autistic people actually, because it's like, their brain is on another
My son
level.
is autistic.
Yeah, but so is mine. And so it's like it's like you just gotta embrace it and you're like, what?
A
And
little
love that. It's
fun fact
yeah.
for you guys. Nowadays, we know that Andy Warhol was actually on the spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a kooky artist.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that a lot of people don't know that are actually on the spectrum.
Yes.
Like,
here we go again. And it is only when they lose a person that they realize how valuable they are. Okay.
I think that's with anything. With
That's
anybody.
across the board for sure.
Yeah.
That is across the board.
That's definitely with
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
Yes. Sean will agree with you there.
Okay.
That's a spam one.
Oh yeah, that's a spam one. Never mind.
Darn spam.
Yes.
But would
Okay.
you guys, so last week we talked about like ultimatums. If you encountered yourself, let's say like early on in a relationship, you think that maybe the other person needs to seek a little bit of help. Like I was saying, like I've suggested to people before, like, you should really see a therapist. I think it'd really benefit from therapy. And they get like super offended. If you were dating somebody and they admitted they had a problem, but didn't seek help and refused to, would you continue said relationship and trying to get them help, or would you skedaddle?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, so I will answer that. I'll be the first to answer that.
Go on.
It's I'm willing to stick around to help somebody who is willing
to help themselves.
But I'm not going to stick around to take care of them if they're just going to ignore my feelings. Because if I'm going to invest my time, my heart, and help them through what they're going through, they're going to need to respect me as a person to say, okay, let's do this together. Here's my hand, and let's walk through this together.
Okay.
I think it goes both ways here, and I'm not going to leave you because you have mental illness. But if you're not willing to take that step to better yourself, to better us, because if you can't fix yourself, there's no us. So if you're not willing to at least make an effort at it, then I feel like at that point it's you got to step away.
Now, as for myself, just personally speaking, I would leave someone for a mental illness. In saying that, I'm talking about a habitual liar, a manipulator, a narcissist, someone of that sort. Someone who has bipolar or even schizophrenia,
well, because you can't trust, you don't know what's going to happen, and that's scary, right? That's scary. I've dated people like that, and it's scary. It's you don't know what's going to happen. You can't trust them.
You're more of a caregiver than you are in a relationship.
Yeah, that's scary.
I knew of a couple where the husband was bipolar, and he went on a manic episode. It lasts a few weeks, and he ended up spending $25,000 of their savings.
Yeah.
During his manic episode. So
I guess
I don't know if they ended up
how
getting divorced or not.
It gets. You know what I mean? Like how bad that manic episode and what tends to happen when your partner is in an active episode.
Yeah.
Really, I guess that would be my deal breaker.
Yeah, because like one of the side effects of manic during bipolar episodes is like promiscuity. You know, so it increases your chance to cheat, thus affecting your relationship.
Yeah, I don't deal with cheaters.
I mean, so I feel like if they realize that they have an issue and they just ultimately refuse to seek help, like that's going to be a one-sided relationship because that person's going to be too busy battling their demons to be able to form a true partnership with you. It's one thing to like seek help and take all the time you need, like depending on if you're okay with that. But like if you're not seeking help, it's going to be one person in that relationship because that's not even truly you.
Right. Right.
I mean, think about it. Like how many people have you seen like go through mental illness that literally become a different person? Because you do.
Mhm.
But it's hard to be in a relationship. You're in a relationship with a stranger.
Right.
That's how I felt.
Well, you literally were, because you knew
Yes.
nothing about it.
I knew absolutely. Yeah.
Did you take her on a what do we call it? An interview, like the coffee date?
Interview.
Coffee
Speed dating.
talk.
The interview.
Meet and greet.
The meet and
Meet and
greet, yeah.
greet.
Did you
That's what
did
it
you
is,
just
meet
do a
and
meet and
greet.
greet with her? Is that why you had like minimal information?
No. No, we were actually in a full blown relationship.
Well, people always start off like, showing their best selves. And then after.
Okay, so I met her online and
I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it.
Well, that's how I don't meet people at a bar, and I'm not going to go to the produce aisle and have us both grab the same lettuce. So, I mean, when you work a lot,
That's
it's hard to get
okay.
out.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
But-
Not everybody's, going to be a mental head case like that you meet online. So you met somebody online.
She was. I mean, okay. So from the beginning, it was great. Our kids were the same age. We both had a passion for baseball.
That's
Yeah. It just there was a lot of commonalities there and everything. And then and then we met, and it seemed like we clicked really well, and and everything was great, and eventually I introduced her to my kids, and then she was supposed to introduce me to her kids. But yeah, that was another instance. I went to a Texas Roadhouse, and I was like, let's get our kids together. She goes, okay. So we get to Texas Roadhouse, me and my kids, and then she shows up and she's like, my boys aren't with me. Their grandpa came in town. He took them fishing when I got home
And
from
she
work. They
wasn't
were already
even
gone.
in the same state.
They weren't even in the same state. And so I'm like, oh, so my boys were kind of bummed. They were looking forward to meeting her boys who are the same exact age as them. So they thought that was cool. And then 2 days later, I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make dinner here. I'm going to make some chicken Alfredo, make this big pot, and why don't you guys come on down? She goes, okay. And then she calls me. She goes, yep, we're getting ready to be out the door. Boom. I did not. All of a sudden, she never showed up, and I tried getting a hold of her. Her phone was dead, and so forth. Finally, she texted me the next morning. She goes, "My son had a seizure. We had to go to the hospital. My phone died. I didn't have a charger. I couldn't call you." I'm like, "Oh, well, it's because your kids were never in the state."
Wow.
And I find this
like
out.
that.
Yeah, I find this stuff out later. When I look back and be like, oh my God, why the hell do people create these stories and then they live in these stories?
But to use your kids and
Yeah, that's crazy.
like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
I
Yeah,
can't
'cause
even fathom that.
I know, right? As crazy as we all are, we can't imagine that.
I went to the store. I made a big
Don't use
dinner.
your kids.
No, and I went to the store, made a big dinner, and my kids are in the driveway waiting on them to pull up, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
then
but
I
how
believe-
many times though, like in the situation, like do you really realize like, hey, this person might have a mental illness? It's usually when it's over and you look back on it that you're like, huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I didn't want to think she was lying to me.
Well, yeah.
I
whenever you're in
think
a
it's when
relationship,
problems occur, when a speed bump in a relationship comes about, how it's handled. You see a lot in
It's true.
your partners, how it's handled. I think is a tall tale of. Did I say that right? A good way of knowing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it really starts. And then when it's over, that's when you're just like, holy fuck, yes, this person's bipolar.
Like I didn't realize I was with a narcissist until after I was no longer with the narcissist. That was a doozy.
Right.
Then you try to figure out how to deal with the repercussions.
When?
I don't know. Then you got to figure out
Oh.
how to deal with the repercussions.
Yeah, and that's just a battle.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Right.
And that's assuming you don't meet another one, because
Yeah, that's what I was going to think. I was thinking about
yeah.
It's like, do we attract, as women, do we attract these same types? Do you feel like
well,
maybe
narcissists are attracted to a certain type of person. So if you attract
Yes.
one once,
Right.
odds are another one
You're-
will also seek you out. They'll figure out
Right.
that you're a good
it's like
target
we
for them.
smell each other, right? Like, I'm
They
weak.
know how to pick their
Yeah.
target.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They already
They
know
know
what
how
they're
to-
looking
yeah.
for.
Right. Am I a target? Am I if I've been with somebody that's like that before, am I putting off like a pheromone that, is picked up by this
A
other
sign
person?
that just says
And-
douchebags, please approach me.
Yeah, and I'm like thinking, he's perfect, right?
Right.
And it's and narcissists usually they start off as perfect, right? That's
Yeah, because they're acting.
yeah, they're
Got it down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there was a study, and I gotta do my nerd thing.
Do it. I
Just to
like
tell
it.
you, go check it out. Like Google it. They did this study where they scanned the brains of people
Mhm.
who had suffered, trauma at the hands of a narcissist, and like
Mhm.
what that does to a person's brain, and it's actually pretty scary. Like
It fucking
because it shows up on a
destroys it,
scan.
let me just tell you.
Mostly like
Yeah, go
let's see,
ahead.
frontal lobe.
Mhm.
And I'm getting all nerdy, but like you
No,
can
get
literally
nerdy.
see the damage.
It's so hot.
just like
Come on.
PTSD. Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally
Yeah.
destroys a human's brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It
Like,
does.
I firmly believe I'm living proof of that. Like, no, it's not even
No.
funny. The shit that I was put through in the short time I was with Matt,
Mhm.
I
I've
think one of the
suffered,
hardest
like,
things,
I've
though-
dealt with being raped as a kid. I've dealt with
Me too.
homelessness, moving state
Yeah.
to state,
Yeah.
turning my brother, and nothing in my life
Compared to
compares
that.
to the hell that he
Shit.
put me through.
Yeah.
And it has forever changed me.
Yeah.
Forever.
Wow.
it is one of the hardest things. Like when you realize that you went through it, you're like, oh, I got to
Right.
undo all this damage. But one difficulty that nobody ever really talks about is being able to identify one of your friends in a relationship with a narcissist,
Mhm.
because that friend doesn't want to hear it.
No,
They
right.
will
No.
not listen to a word you say. And then you're thinking like, what, I want to protect my friend. And then it ultimately, like, because narcissists will drive wedges between, their target and their circle, eventually the narcissist will probably win on that one.
Right.
So I've had that battle too, like trying to like show my friends that the person they're with is a narcissist. Like,
And Crystal, let me
it's
just make this note based on our conversation yesterday. Completely noted and advice taken.
Wow. Mhm.
Completely.
I mean, and that's being supportive of somebody who's in a relationship with a narcissist is also taxing. Just like if you were in a relationship with somebody with a mental illness. So there's like tons of different ways to support a partner with mental illness. If you're choosing ultimately to stick around, but you have to take in your own mental health into consideration as well. Don't completely neglect yourself, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. But supporting those who are also with partners who have mental illness can also be challenging, because
Well.
they're going to constantly turn to you for advice, just to like vent.
Yes.
So it's not just romantic relationships that have the mental illness issues.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's friendships, it's business relationships,
Try to deal, I'm sure there's bosses out there that have mental illness that make people's
Most of them
work
do.
life very difficult.
yeah, Roger. I'm just kidding.
Yes, we got Roger.
I'm just kidding.
Like, how do you think they got
Wow.
I'm kidding.
There it is, Roger.
He knows I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm the one that makes everybody's life hell.
Yep, you do.
Now, would
And
you
I
guys
recognize it.
consider like Alzheimer's, mental illness, like how would that affect a relationship? Like that's one thing that like I don't think I've been able to ask anybody about.
Okay, so if
I totally have that dementia. Like I feel like I don't. Yeah, I can't even remember my kids' names sometimes. And how do you deal with that when you're with a partner that has something like that? It's
okay, so not when you're dating somebody, but if you're in a relationship, you've been in a marriage, you guys been together for 30, 40 years, and all
Right.
of a sudden your partner has, Alzheimer's,
I
then
would
yeah,
love them
then
through it.
you support them through that. Okay,
My
I
that
know,
Nana
but
is
how
in
do you
end
handle that?
stage
Like they repeat the
dementia.
same things like 38 times a day.
I would
You're like,
repeat. I would tell them 38 times a day the
yeah.
same, the truth.
You
Like
love them better
you're
or
I would
worse,
love them
beautiful.
through it.
richer or poor, sickness and in health till death do you guys
It's
part.
gonna
Oh,
set up like 50 first dates.
that's sweet.
Remember
Yes,
that movie?
Yeah, I remember that Adam Sandler.
You guys are beautiful then. That's sweet.
like I would never. I can't even fathom that thought of leaving somebody who develops Alzheimer's
No,
or
I'm not
dementia,
talking about
or
leaving him, but like, maybe,
Like how would you
yeah.
deal?
How do you
I
deal with
wouldn't put them in a home. I wouldn't. I would be there 24 hours a day. And if it took me a million times a day answering the same question, I wouldn't think
Yeah,
twice
that's
about
what
it.
it, and you know what, that's what it comes to. And it's ugly. I'm going to tell you, I'm 50, but I repeat the same things 1,000 times a day. And my kids, sometimes I get my kids' names mixed up. And I think
That's just being a mom.
I was gonna say I think
is
that
it
comes with being a
because I
mom.
feel like I'm going crazy. I mean,
That's just being a mom. My Nana is in end stage dementia, and it's the most heartbreaking
that's what I feel like. I feel like
thing in the
I'm,
world. But I
yeah.
can't imagine not loving my Nana through it. I can't even imagine that.
You have a Nana still? That's beautiful.
She's 90, and
Oh,
she actually
wow.
just had a stroke, and
Oh my
she's in her
God.
end stage dementia. So I know she doesn't have much time left.
That's beautiful
So
that
like
you have a
I know a lot of people have dealt with parents and grandparents who've had dementia or Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
But what do you do if they, like your partner doesn't even recognize you? Or what if they suddenly don't want to be or like does that
No,
Right.
it happens.
It,
Or
Yeah,
like,
it does
you
happen.
get their names wrong, or it starts off like something simple, like you just forget that you've told them 1,000 things already, and they start recognizing that you're not normal. What do how do you deal with that?
I don't know, I
Well,
feel like that would be kind of heartbreaking if
It is
especially like the
hard.
first time they don't recognize you.
okay,
It
so
is
let's flip the
heartbreaking.
coin here. Let's flip the coin. If you are in that situation and you
Yeah.
have, you become that person,
What would you want your partner
would
to?
you yeah, exactly. What would you want your partner to do for you? So
Just
you got to
be
look.
kind and understanding. I mean, I one of my best friends, she died, she was in her 90s, and she used to always get all our names wrong. And I remember her kids like always saying like, oh, don't you know who's here, blah blah blah. And now here I am in my own life, and I'm 50, and I sometimes I get my kids names wrongs, and I repeat things that I can't remember. And I think back on that and I'm like, Jesus, I mean, this is just part of getting older, but it's have compassion. I think that's what everybody needs to know is to be compassionate to other people, and to realize you're 1 minute away from this happening to you too.
And sure, it could happen at any time.
Yeah.
I think though, like knowing your partner's love language and knowing like the things that they like already, and just being supportive through any mental illness or mental health situation is key. And it's going to be different for everybody. Like everybody's going to be unique. And literally when I was doing the research, I was trying to find the best of the best, like best ways for to support a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend. And it's so all over the board because mental illnesses are all over the board, but like the number, one thing that they were saying is, show them that you love them.
Yeah, be compassionate.
Show me you love them.
Mhm.
Lydia, your thoughts on this?
So quiet, Lydia.
Well, if my partner, or if I had developed Alzheimer's or dementia, I would want them to write down our love story and read it to me every day. And I would have that lucid moment like in The Notebook.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, that's a movie. I've seen that show. Yeah.
You guys don't kill me. I've never seen that movie.
Oh, you got to
Really?
see that. It's so good.
I know that's probably very hard to believe, but everybody's like, oh, The Notebook. And I'm like, yeah,
No.
The Notebook.
No, you got to
I
go
guess-
watch that tonight.
Yep.
But I
There
do
you
know
go.
about the ending.
Yep.
And I think that is
good.
adorable.
That's really good.
They actually do. So they sell these or like offer these things now where it's like a question a day that somebody gets sent in their email. And then at the end of a year of them answering questions about whatever relationship it is, they compile it. This company compiles it into a book and then mails it to you, and you have it to put on your shelf forever. So they say like do that for like grandparents, so like their grandkids could have it. Doing it as a couple and writing down your love story is an even better one. Lydia, you better like make sure that everybody knows you suggested it, so when they start doing that, you can get your
I can't take credit for it. Nicholas Sparks beat me to it.
I mean, technically.
All right, guys. Tonight we talked about mental health and being in a relationship with somebody that does have mental health issues. If you feel like you have mental health or you're dealing through a situation, you can always pick up the phone and dial 988. It's 3 numbers and someone's on the other end of the line that will listen. And that's the most important thing, is that they're going to listen to you. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that.
I would rather get a call at 3 a.m. that you're having an issue than be one of the 6 that is carrying you out of the church in your casket.
Aw.
That is right. I agree with you 100%.
Thank you, Lydia.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Brand new episode. And also, we're having a new influencer join the show.
Jeremy.
Yes. And Megan, tell us about Jeremy.
Oh, it should be me. I know Jeremy.
That's right.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Jeremy. Yeah.
We'll have you talk, and then we'll have Megan's, because she had a nice little conversation with him.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeremy is one of my BFFs, so I don't know. Megan, you want to talk about him, or do you want me to?
I don't think Meg realizes we can't hear her right now.
Okay. Jeremy is an incredible guy. He's got a very great passion and zest for life, and he's going to be an incredible addition because I can't wait for him to come on and tell his story. He's a therapist to help people with relationships and couples therapy, and as somewhere along the way, he had like this psychedelic experience, and now he is like a shaman. So anyway, it's going to be really, really fun. I talk to him on a daily basis. This guy is incredibly smart, and he's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be really, really a good addition to our little group, I think.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to it. I think Megan's got mic issues right now. So.
No, I think it's working now.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, I had to reset itself for some reason on my computer. But I just know he's from Tahoe, California. He's a marriage life coach, therapist. I believe someone in his position has a pretty good, he's seen a lot and dealt with a lot and brings a good, variety of opinions and views and experiences.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because he's
a good addition.
Yeah, it'll be a good addition because he's like the clinical doctor, and he's going to come in and write, and maybe all of us have our opinions, but he's going to be that medical person that you know is interesting. And
Well, he's not a doctor; he's a therapist. But I think
well,
he brings a good
you know,
addition to the table.
so he's one of my best friends. But he's
Yeah.
So Anyway, I love this guy. I'm super excited that he's coming on with us. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I can't wait. It'll be good.
Me too.
And we'll see you guys next week. Make sure you guys join us, share us on your socials, and spread the word for
Who is that?
for
Megan.
Lydia, Rachel, Crystal, and Megan. I'm Roger the Wild Child. You guys all have a great night.
Adios.
Adios.